it's 6 o'clock, let's call the meeting to order. I guess we're full here. Any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have one, town archives.
Town archives. Okay, we'll make that. No, I'm on the wrong agenda here. We'll make that J4, town archives. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Seconder?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. I shouldn't say none until he hears. No delegation presentations tonight, so minutes of the previous meeting. Everybody's had an opportunity to go through those. Any errors or omissions?
There are 2 M's in McCormick, they're just not consecutive.
Okay. Okay, you might go to that. That's where the conversation was coming from.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I read it, but I skipped right over that.
No, it's spelled right, it's good.
Okay.
It's attached to best.
Yeah,
So is it wrong or is it right?
It's right.
that's right.
He just said it doesn't look right. It's right, but it doesn't look right. He's just like, yeah.
Nick or Nick. Yeah. No unfinished business from that, so we're gonna move right
Do we
in.
have approval of this?
Approve, yeah, can I have approval of the minutes of the previous meeting?
So moved.
Seconded.
Second, any discussion? None? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None. Moving on to the CAO report. Tom, you have the floor.
Okay, first thing on the report is the report on the tax sale by tender. So, the first property, the Mount Street land, we had 3 bids ranging from $8,100 to $1,700. The tender for this property was awarded to actually the lowest tender, not the highest, because both higher bidders rescinded the bids once they realized that it was a postage stamp that they had bid on. One was from Ontario, and he admitted, he said, no, I have no idea what I bid on. And I said, well, he said, well, how big is it? I said, it's 20 square feet. Or no, 200 square feet, 200 square feet. He said, well, I guess I don't really want it, especially for that much money. So, and the second one was the same, so.
Were they both Ontario? That second?
No, the second one was local here.
Oh, okay.
I think he's a newer resident, but he's from town. And they assumed that it was a building lot.
And the third tender, well, he owns the adjacent property.
Yeah, he's an abutting neighbor there, and it's probably who it should have went to begin with.
Okay.
So, on 49 St. Mary Street, basically we had
A lot.
15 bids, and with the highest being $56,100, and so that has been awarded to that, the highest bidder.
Very good.
Regional fisheries dispute, the next steps. So a Zoom meeting was held on the 10th of March. It was discussed about the fact that things seem quiet at the present time, but it would not likely stay that way when spring arrives and the lobster season comes to a close.
It's actually, since it has picked up.
Yes,
Since
it
then,
has.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
tensions, and
Yeah.
June 1st is a magic date, apparently, according to what I heard through the grapevine, that's when,
There's activity on the Sunday world, no work now.
Yeah. So, And so basically, and then it was talked about, the Irish Communications and services, to extend the services of Irish Communications. And, so they have submitted a new scope, a redefined scope of work. And, we're looking at, the group is looking at a 3-month extension. The fee would be $6,000 plus HST per month, which was the exact same as what the first 3 months were. And so basically there was general agreement amongst the group to continue with the services for additional 3 months. So each unit was asked to bring the proposal to the respective councils to provide a decision before month end, which was supposed to be the end of March. However, we're not the only one that didn't meet until the 1st of April. So
I was in the same meeting. I sat and listened for a while, and I asked the question, because I had 2 concerns, and I put it out there. Now I think it kind of changed the flow of the meeting there for a little bit, because I was concerned. I felt all the conversations in the last couple of months were going outside the scope of the original proposal. Some units were starting to look at the trees, etc., and that's way beyond our responsibility. So I felt that we were going in a direction we should not be going. And the other thing, I just wanted to make sure that we were getting value for our $600. And really, at the end of the day, they said they would, and there was a lot of discussion around that. And they all agreed that they should stay focused on the communications and working with the province, but don't wander into discussions on the validity of treaties, etc., because that's not a municipal council role. So there was good discussion on that, and they all agreed that they should be going in that direction. And at the end of the day, it was 11 units? 11 units?
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that, showing this, by staying together collectively and continue with these communication pieces, show us solidarity amongst all the units. So, $600 for 3 months is.
Yeah, that's collected $600 for 3 months, not $600 a month.
Yeah, $600 for 3 months. So.
You need a motion for that, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll move that we spend $606.59 for 3 months for Irish Communications as our share.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? None? No. We're probably going into the next, like Tom said, critical next 3 months. Is going to be really critical on the relationships in this area. So, all those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? None. Motion is carried.
Next one, post-COVID strategic planning sessions with Gordon McIntosh. So the dates and times have been confirmed for the Zoom strategic planning sessions facilitated by Gordon McIntosh. The council and senior staff will meet collectively in the conference room of Nova Scotia Works at the Evangeline Mall on Warwick Street. The aim of the session will be to consider matters facing the organization and community, to develop action-oriented strategic priorities for attention in 2021, as well as longer-term directions. The 3 sessions will be, session 1 is, this is Thursday, but it's actually Wednesday, tomorrow night, Wednesday, April the 7th. The second is on Friday, April the 16th, and the third is on Wednesday, April 28th.
Leslie, did she give you a key yet?
No.
Okay.
I'll get there tomorrow.
Yeah, get the key. She was going to give it to me, and I wasn't there today, so key and the code.
Okay.
They will go to the easiest way to the boardroom is go to the back of the mall. You'll see my car there.
I can post the sign too.
Yeah, because there's you'll see propane tanks. Just to the left of those 2 doors. It's the second door from the propane tanks. But we'll have our cars right there so you know what door to get. And eat before you come, but there will be healthy muffins and donuts and stuff like that.
Healthy donuts?
Healthy donuts, yes. And it's supposed to be a relaxed session. Don't come suit and tie. Come with whatever you want on. And it's just relaxed. And, it's not sit there and be stuffy and stiff. Let's open up, come up with some ideas. Yeah. Sorry, Tom. I keep cutting you off here today.
That's okay. Solid waste collection contracts. So, 5-year contract came to an end, on March 31st, 2021. We called for tender, which was posted on the provincial procurement site. It closed at noon on March 31st. We received 1 tender, and that was from BP Salvage and Disposal, our current collector. So a review of the tender revealed a 5% increase per year as shown in the cost comparisons. So basically over the life of the contract, or for regular collection, last contract was $585,781, and the new contract will be $720,496.68. The special collection option, it is an option, so that we would have a price if council decides at any time that we would like to have a special collection for large items and things like that. That way we would have a price and know what it was going to cost us up front. Okay, and that's per collection. So we have one, it's that $1,200 plus HST. So, as per our purchasing and procurement policy, purchases in excess of $50,000 are subject to the approval of the town council. So I would recommend to council that the schedule of pricing and by BP Salvage and Disposal be accepted.
They've been the waste management company since 1964, 65. Only since I've been on council, there's been 1 or 2 other tenders. Yeah. And
They weren't very close to
They-
the ones I saw.
yeah, they were never even in the ballpark compared to this. Mr. Thomas takes the attitude, he will tell you, this is my town and I want to keep it clean, and we're going to have some discussions on that. But
The thing is,
yeah.
the contract, in the contract, there's a lot of value added in the contract with BP Salvage and Disposal that we would not get without paying through the nose for any other collection company. I mean, basically, if we get a complaint on collection day or even the day after collection day that somebody's garbage didn't get picked up, and we pick up the phone and call, then they usually address it right away. They'll send a truck, they'll send a half-ton truck to pick the garbage up, and he's never once even hinted that there was the extra charges or anything. He's used the town really well, and for the most part, he almost uses the town too well for his own good. Because sometimes, he'll do things that cost him money, but he doesn't want to charge the town extra for it.
And that's solid waste, that's not green card.
That's green card.
That's included?
Yeah. That includes the
Bi-weekly?
the bi-weekly, or the weekly from, what is that, June till September? We collect green cards every week in June, so that price is included in that.
Just getting off track a little bit, we'll need a motion to discuss this, but I am putting a piece together. I'm going to sit down with Tom, because there are little things that put a big item out a week to get picked up that a lot of people don't realize that you can do in town. want to do the cleanup, the white metal days and stuff, but you can put a big item here.
Yes.
And they will take it away. That could be, well, whatever.
Chesterfield and stuff I've seen them do.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
The other thing, I am gonna put a piece together and get posted, maybe, it may be too long for the newsletter, but
Something.
it's gonna be really, it's gonna include photographs of some of the garbage that's lying around.
Okay.
Some people take more time and effort to go dump a piece of trash than it would just to put up the curbside.
Yes.
A garbage bag, just put it on the curbside and get picked up for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, I mentioned Tom a few weeks ago, but I'm gonna sit down, design a piece, explain what you can and can't do. I'm gonna show some examples. I drove by one the other day and it's just piles, Bruce is aware of it, piles of garbage bags. And they've been there for a long time. There's no reason why they're by the road, unless they've been tagged. And, but,
Just,
yeah,
just for other, I only received one telephone call before the tender closed. That was a company from New Brunswick. And oddly enough, the day after the tenders closed, I got a call from that same company. And she left a message, and the message said, I'm so-and-so from such and such. And I said, I'm wanting to know what the tender results are. And I'm saying, well, you never even submitted a tender, because I only had the one. And so I called her back, and she said, I said, the first thing I said to her, I said, did you submit a tender? And she said, no. Did I scare you? I said, well, I was just wondering whether, because tenders have gone AWOL before and not been received, right? And she said, no, I'm just interested. I'm just sort of completing. She said, who was the successful one? And I told her, and she said, I figured as much. She said, so they're quite aware of the relationship with DP Salvage in the past, that's for sure.
okay, can we have a motion to discuss further?
I'll make a motion that we accept the tender from,
DB Sandwiches.
Digby Salvage and stuff. In the amount of the regular collection of $720,496.68 plus HST.
Yeah, so basically, it would be, excuse me, Counselor, it'd be the schedule of pricing that's there, and we'll just insert that into your motion. That's fine, 'cause it says each year how much it is per month, right? And that's what they bid on, so that's what we have to accept, so.
You're fine with that motion? Yeah, okay.
I'll second it.
Tom's right. If there's an issue, you pick up Ray, Thomas, or one of his workers, and they can right into town, pick it up, deal with it, address it. If they've missed it, or sometimes they see something, they'll deal with it themselves, so.
He's an awfully good corporate citizen.
He is a very good corporate citizen. And he's been a successful tender, and I actually commented, I said, Ray, you shouldn't be giving yourself away. But his response is, well, this is my town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the discussion I had with him after, well, even before, and I said, Greg, I don't really, I can't get involved with what you want to bid or not bid. I said, I said, after we can talk, but I said, I don't want to know before. And he said, and afterwards he said, yeah, basically he said, use 5%, and a lot of it, he said, because, he said, I don't know, the biggest unknown is what labor costs are going to be. He said, because these labor costs are based on the minimum wage, right? And when the minimum wage takes big jumps, then he has to take big jumps as well to keep
And fuel costs.
and fuel costs is the other one.
Fuel.
Even though in the contract, we do have a formula, after, diesel fuel gets to a certain price, then there is a a formula that they work so he can get compensated, but we've had that in the last 2 contracts, and it's never been used. He never uses it, right? Or never asked, I should say, he never asked for it, so.
Okay, any other comments on it? Any other discussion?
You need a motion for the special collection option?
No,
No, that's it, we choose.
It's all included?
And there was a second to that motion, no other discussion, do we have a motion? All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Because it's a flat fee, he doesn't do it based on, like, if there's more dwellings or anything like that.
for what?
Just a collection, just flat fee, no, like, let's say we have 5 new apartment units in town, no increased cost.
No.
Okay.
Nope, nope.
No, so that, yeah. Basically, he looks at it, he's still driving, the truck's got the same kilometers, right?
Okay.
He's still going by, whether he has to stop or not.
Okay.
Next, item on my report is the Decker Memorial. So I have spoken to the gentleman who, had wanted to remain anonymous concerning providing a design for the sign or something to honor Decker's Memorial. He is willing to provide counsel with the design, so, I was hoping that I might have something today, but, I don't, and, but he has found a very interesting piece of wood for to put the, make the sign on. So.
Nixon, I had a conversation with Patty Durkee too, so I didn't have to talk.
So bill number 47, an act to amend chapter 18 of the Acts of 1998, the Municipal Government Act, and the Halifax Charter, was given first and second reading in the legislature and was scheduled to be before the law amendments on Wednesday, March 31st. The amendment will give a municipality the authority to provide direct financial assistance to a business for the purpose of improving accessibility for people with disabilities.
Well, I had a conversation, I had a phone call from Municipal Councilor Patty Durkee in Yarmouth, who's stepped in the middle of this along with a lot of other units. The example she gave was if, for instance, in town, people needed to have ramps built to their front doors. We could go to an organization like Conway Workshop and say, we're prepared to put some money up to you folks, and you folks build those ramps, or subsidize, or give a grant or something, however you can do it, to assist you in building ramps for local businesses. Because it was fear, when Tom and I first had a conversation is that we could be having businesses coming to our door saying, help us out. Well, that's not the intent of the bill. Yeah.
And to give a little background, basically HRM wanted an amendment to their charter. They didn't ask for anything to the MGA because HRM is the only municipality outside of the MGA that has their own charter. Right, they have their own charter. A lot of it mirrors the MGA, but they specifically had a request from their taxi companies and to assist them in getting their taxis, make their taxis accessible, right? And so they put a request into, I guess, the minister saying that they'd like to have the amendment made to their charter to give them the ability, not make it mandatory, but the ability to be able to spend money on that type of initiative. Because right now we can't spend money on private enterprise. So basically, municipal affairs, in their wisdom, said, well, if that's the case, we're going to treat everybody alike. So that's why all the other units are not quite happy with that being thrown in without any real consultation, right?
That's the point of the correspondence we got too. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, anyway, the thing is, basically, it is gonna be, it is a may, that's in the wording, so which means we may do it. Long as they don't turn it around and down the road, and I think a lot of people figure, initially, a lot of the units, at least some of the CAOs that I've talked with, said they were afraid that basically it was gonna be another provincial download, right?
But the bigger issue again is lack of consultation.
Yeah.
Lack of consultation.
Yeah.
One unit goes and wants this change, so they do the change, but they didn't come to the other 48 units and say, this is what's happening, until they get right into the middle of it.
Yeah.
You'll find that time and time again, that they do that all the time.
So they also had bill number 50, which is another amendment, which also was given first and second reading, and also scheduled on March 31st to go for law amendments. So the amendments, these amendments allow council, municipality, or a committee appointed by the council to meet in closed session to discuss alleged breaches of the municipality's code of conduct. Basically, this is around the code of conduct that NSFM has been asking the municipal affairs to come up with some teeth for a code of conduct for elected officials. And so basically, one of the things that is clause 3 that's a little concerning is it provides that a municipality must appoint a person or entity independent of the municipality to conduct investigations of complaints regarding alleged breaches of the municipality's code of conduct. So we don't know exactly what all that means, whether and what costs that can inflict on the municipality, right? If any.
I would assume our current attorney would be not independent.
No, I wouldn't say that basically. I don't know whether they would.
Yeah, consider
But
that.
I guess there's got to be clarification, and, you know, so, basically, it's a bit of good news that they're actually working on, but at the same time that, there's still some unknowns of what that means, and also the regulations that are set by the minister, and whether, when and if he gets around to setting those regulations on code of conduct. That's gonna be the other issue.
It's sad that we have to have one, but we have to have one, but, this individual or entity has someone that needs to have a certain skill set
Yeah.
and be familiar with the MGA and the code of conduct and all that. So it's not just, we can't walk down the street and say, we need you today to deal with an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's it, we don't know,
Yeah.
we don't know what that exactly means, whether it's gonna be a lawyer, or, you know, some other professional, or what.
Which will not be doing it for free.
Yeah.
Okay, any comments on that? We can always respond, but, this is Big Brother looking for us, so.
COVID-19 electronic upgrades, so, the Polycom system has arrived, and it was expected, and it is set up. That's the little spacecraft gadget, Star Trek gadget there, and, so, tonight we're doing a trial run with it, see how the recordings come out. And
Does the board say if they're working fine?
Yeah, just gave me a thumbs up.
So is that camera capturing auto from everybody plus video, or is just because the camera pointed right at me? That one up there is getting dissolved, but this one here is just.
Yeah, well, basically, that is designed to track where the sound is coming from, and the camera inside there will go to that person,
Okay.
right? So that basically, you'll see who is talking. It's almost like Zoom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where you,
Is Norm looking at the live feed?
Yeah, I think
So if I'm talking now, then it should be focused on me? Is
Yeah.
that what we're getting? Is that what you can actually see on it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm hoping Leslie will confirm in a second.
well, we're gonna get both copies of the thing to look at to help determine what will actually publicize.
But we work with it.
So, but it will work good if we have somebody coming in with Zoom from outside, like a presentation, or somebody else, if the council is sick at home or whatever, wants to participate by Zoom, we're gonna be able to do that a lot easier with that machine. And with the new laptops, and hopefully when this new TV 70-inch screen gets at the back, we should be able to see a lot more for presentations.
Yeah. $600 for a 70-inch TV, unbelievable. A few years ago, they were thousands.
Smart TV too.
Huh?
Smart TV as well.
Yeah.
Smart router.
Dangerous and unsightly policy, so our current dangerous and unsightly policy only delegates authority to the administrator but does not set any procedures. Council and staff has struggled with procedures over dangerous and unsightly files. And so I've conducted some research on the policies of other municipalities and drafted a policy that delegates the authority and sets out procedures to replace the current one. The draft has been sent to the town solicitor for review and comment. As is anticipated, the draft will be presented to the April committee of the whole meeting for council review and discussion. So basically, the whole thing is so that it gives staff direction and also helps council know what the procedures and direction is as well, what should sort of take place.
Let's hope it has some teeth in it.
Well, I had a couple, we all get complaints about garbage.
Yes.
And I visited 2 residents, one Thursday, one Friday afternoon. It was about garbage, and the amount of garbage is piling up, and the other thing they brought to the attention, and I've noticed it too, and we've all noticed, is the green carts, always out at the end of the street. They're upside down in the ditches. There's one particular street, Kittle Street, that they're there all day long, and some are still upside down in the ditches, and they only haul them out when they need to put stuff in them.
There's one on Racket Beach the other day.
Oh, I didn't see that one, I would have grabbed it.
The time's coming in.
Oh, was it? Yeah. So, that's why I wanted to put an educational piece together, and I have show actual examples of what's around town. And sit there and.
So your green darts and that would be governed under solid waste bylaw, right? And there's teeth, there are some teeth and stuff.
Yeah.
In that as well. So, one thing is dangerous and unsightly policy. And that was one of the things that sort of tweaked me to start looking. Leslie sent me a thing, talked about Town of Yarmouth's policy.
I read that
And
too.
their policy, they charge an admin fee for repeat offenders, right? Not a fine, it's an admin fee.
Yeah.
So if you're, every time that we go back, it's, I think it's $150.
$150, yeah, town, yeah.
So you charge somebody $150 for have to go back and deal with the same issues over and over and over again. So that's it in the draft policy as well.
Is it?
So,
Yeah, because it is time consuming, they have to go back and forth, and they just address it within that 14-day period sometimes, but they don't, so.
It's annoying for groups, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's annoying, well, these are both residents of the town that we don't hear from, but they just called me out to their homes and well, one was here, but just say, man, there's a lot of garbage around, piled up in some properties. And I said, yes, we try to address it. Anything else, Tom?
Last thing is the marketing levy, so bill number 77, the Digby Marketing and Promotions Levy Act was introduced in the House of Assembly by the Honorable Gordon Wilson on March 31st, 2021. And so I think, according to the email that I received early this morning, he was expecting second reading to be sometime this week. And we also were responsible to put an advertisement in the local paper, so that should be in this week's paper saying that the act was introduced and that if anybody had any objections, it was a contact information for the law amendment. Well, it's not law amendments, it's a private members. It's the same thing as law amendments, but it's a little different committee because it's from private members and acts. So anyway, so it's on its way. In the thing, Gordon had a question for me this morning. Wanted to know how we were going to spend the money, so I sent him all the information that we had to discuss, the minutes of the meetings that we had, and also he said, well, in the legislation it says the levy could be from $2 to $5, and he said that's quite a spread, quite a bit of money, and I said, yeah, but I said the intent is for $2 is what it was discussed with all the stakeholders, and that's what we intend to go with. I said the reason that there's a thing to $5 was recommended by the House of Legislative Legal people, and basically they said if you put that spread in there, and then 5 years down the road you say, well, we need $2.50, or we need $3, or we need $3.50, or something like that. We don't have to go back and have the legislation amended. So it gives us that buffer zone. Right?
The stakeholders we had the 2 public hearings, and they were happy with that.
Yeah. Well, that's concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the CAO?
So Tom, that would start this summer? Or?
We're not going to, because basically once it gets passed through legislation, then the next step is we have to pass our bylaws, right? Because we have legislation that enables us, but then the bylaws, basically we have to pass that. I know that that was a question I think Gordon had for wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is about the timing of it, in case somebody asks, well, why is this, with COVID, is this the time to institute it? And the thing is, realistically, it's going to be 2022 summer season or tourist season before we really get it off the ground. So, and hopefully, COVID-19 will be in our rearview mirror, at least in the rearview mirror.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That's good.
Right on the cusp of getting rid of it. Okay, moving on. Committee of the whole report. That was a motion for these grants. Huh? Oh, Derek, sorry. Sorry.
The reports in the package, try to answer any questions.
Anything exciting happening up there?
Lots of interesting things happen there all the time.
Committee of the whole report. We discussed this last time during the council for approval, subject. Well, in the middle there, we had our meeting with Dr. Strang and our our new Minister of Municipal Affairs, and the question I put out there, will these festivals be allowed to go ahead? And they took the questions and said they'll respond in writing with the answers. So, in other words, there's a lot of unknowns, whether they're going to be allowed to go ahead. They wouldn't answer them that night. And mainly because of time constraint, because there was a whole long agenda, and they only gave us an hour, so we don't know whether these are going ahead or not, so. I get the wrong report? I moved again? No, why am I doing that? Oh, special counsel, we've got, why don't we just put those together? I know, 2 different meetings, okay. Let's back up to the March 15th one. Yeah. That's whisper, just hit me. Okay, so we have a number of motions.
Someone's gonna take them up on that?
That's the end of the meeting. Number of motions need to be passed here tonight, and one was to send a letter to the municipality, they'd be asking for consideration to the amendment to the King's Transit bus route down at Digby.
Make that motion.
Yeah, second. And all it was is, Tom asked and I asked the counselor, and they just took that meeting that Mr. Foote was at as an information piece, and they didn't discuss it any further. So they asked for a letter from us, and then they'll investigate it.
Yes.
And come back, see if it's feasible and what the cost may be, then we can go from there. Next one.
Call the question.
Yeah, all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Any against? None.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, can
Go
I
ahead.
say something before?
Yep.
Now that you've passed that, the letter's already been sent.
Really?
You're on the ball, John.
What did we
The
say
letter
now?
was sent, and I already got a response back from the municipality, is
Yeah.
interested in sitting down, so Jeff and I just gotta sit down first, sit down and sort of talk about it, so the ball is
Rolling.
rolling.
Okay. The wheels of the bus are turning.
Well, I don't know what it would have done if you'd had.
Yeah, exactly. We should know. Yeah. Okay, someone like to put the second motion forward?
I'm gonna be authorized.
Do we need it?
Actually, it's not required.
Not required, because we did it already.
Sold. Well,
We sold it.
It did sell.
And it meant more than that.
You know, that was, the intent of that was in case
Yeah.
nobody bid on it.
Yes.
Then the town could bid it in and get it.
Yeah.
And, so, before the tender closed, I knew that I had at least one tender because Mr. Tan was in and asked about the property and stuff, so I knew that he was gonna bid on it, so. So we require part of that now.
Respectful workplace policy amendments. Anybody wanna put that
Move
on the
that
board?
we adopt the respectful workplace policy amendments as they were presented.
I'll second that.
Second. Any discussion on them? Anybody take a look at them, see if any of concern? If none, then can I have a vote, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? None, motion carried. So we'll put a motion forward for the accessibility committee members?
Well, I'll put forth a motion that Councilor Saunier and.
Really anxious to get that.
Sure, Mike will second that.
Yeah.
Okay. And seconder?
I'll let one of them second.
Wow. Okay.
Are
Any
we ready
discussion?
to what our first meeting might be?
No, no dates yet. The conversation early on, it'd be fairly busy at first, but we're probably not, a few times a year after that, so. All those in favor of that motion, appoint Councilor Saunier and Councilor Turnbull to the committee. Aye. No nays? None. And the CL would like to have a motion on draft and expressing of interest for potential development for the affordable housing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah. Any discussion on it? The only thing I thought is about, at some point expanding that into just housing in general too. There's a real shortage, but
Yeah.
we'll take step one here.
I would be, well,
Yeah.
rumors are right, of course. I would be astounded if there was anything that came forward without some kind of request for participation of government with the
Oh,
price
yeah.
of building products now. It's just crazy.
I'm wondering about some of the projects that we're gonna go ahead, whether they're gonna slow down because of the cost of building supplies. But they say the average is $40,000 increase on an average, or like two.
But you know what's funny? You could absorb that 40% increase on a building, and you could turn around and sell the building right now and make a profit.
Make a profit, yeah. How long will that last? That's another.
Yeah. It's a bubble for sure.
All those in favor of that motion? Oh, did anybody put that forward as a motion?
Yes, we
Peter,
did.
yeah, seconded? And you seconded. All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? None, motion carries.
I did try to do some research, search a little bit on that, and I did find, an expression of interest that was put out by the District of Argyle, but it's basically that one, they had property that they wanted to get developed, so it's a little bit different, and I also tried to look at our inventory that we would have, town-owned property that didn't have something else linked to it somehow, either a lease on it or other things, so. And then there's some that, of the town property that just aren't big enough to develop to any extent.
They talked about that in one of our affordable housing meetings.
Mhm.
And it's sort of a mixed development. They wanted some different levels of housing, and they wanted some commercial there too, so it's sort of open to their development. Mr. Mayor, what was the discussion that you had with the warden regarding our container homes?
Well. We're gonna have a joint council meeting, okay? Yeah, okay, we'll leave it at that at the moment.
Isn't Yarmouth working on a big development down there, affordable housing and mixed use and?
That is in the old high school.
High school, yeah, they have a school there.
And, yeah.
So we just have to.
That's a challenge for us, we don't have a lot of assets, and we're 3 square kilometers with a lot of land, that's a challenge for us. But I did have that discussion, with joint council meeting.
Oh, this is on an agenda somewhere.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the agenda, and I'll just, bring you up to speed on that. Yeah. But every municipal unit is struggling with affordable housing. Right across the country, there was an article, something on CBC radio recently just about what's happening with public housing and affordable housing. One thing you mentioned, mixed use, they said is important, because then you create an area that just breeds upon itself.
Yes.
Yeah, so mixed use is important in any development like
I had a chance to take part, if you'll indulge me,
that.
in the online discussion that we had last Thursday.
Yeah.
We broke into groups and had some really, really good information sessions in those groups, to which I stressed the point that not only is it difficult to find a place in Digby non-existent, but we're at a point now where if we have, it hasn't happened yet, but I can see at a point if we have someone with a mental health issue, and it's on the weekend, and there's no government office to call, the only thing we could offer someone would be an RCMP cell.
Yeah.
And in this country, that is absolutely not a go for me.
No.
It's crazy.
Yeah, either that, or you have 2 RCMP officers taking someone to Yarmouth.
Yes.
And they're down there for hours upon hours, and they're out of the district because of an individual needs help, and that's the only way they get there.
Yeah.
So there was conversation, wasn't it, at that meeting, or about the sheriff department picking up that responsibility up? There was a meeting of that, but the sheriff department.
That was discussed, and different things.
Yeah.
One of the earlier meetings, well, I think it was at one of our RCMP advisory meetings we talked about, because that was the thing that our staff sergeant kept stressing, is that how much time that members were in Yarmouth with a mentally ill patient, I'll call it, and they can't leave them until they're either admitted or whatever, right? And I brought up, well, how come, this is provincial responsibility, mental health, and why is not that, they respond to a call, RCMP responds to a call, and there's somebody that's, mentally disturbed and needs to go somewhere, and why can't they take them in, I don't like using the word custody, but, take them into custody and then, call the sheriff's department for transport, because they're trained to transport, and, it would be a lot more fiscally responsible for a sheriff to take people down, even if there's two of them, compared to tying up full-fledged RCMP operators.
As you said, they're trained to do that. They do that day in and day out, to transport people.
Yeah, they transport prisoners on a daily basis, so.
I did stress the point too that a solution made at Halifax is a paintbrush that would miss a lot of cracks.
Yeah.
And the other problem that I also mentioned too was, it's so fundamental to everything. Whether you're trying to recruit a new doctor, retain LPNs that we have, you can't grow this town if there is nowhere for anyone to live.
We're had a meeting today. We have a potential for a doctor to come here late summer, and we have a nurse practitioner, and we're asked to assist them in finding housing. And those individuals want generally better quality housing than a lot of what we have in town, and it's tough. It's tough to find something.
Was there not talk about losing a nurse practitioner because
Yep.
the rent was she was paying too high a rent?
Well, I heard that it hasn't been confirmed, but yeah. Yeah, but so housing at all levels is a challenge. But good quality, affordable housing is a big challenge.
That's what came up in the meeting too, is it's not only just for affordable housing, it's affordable housing for a senior who's selling their home and wants to downsize. There's nothing. For some first-time homeowners, there's no easy way to get into the market. It's a real big problem.
Now with the restrictions on mortgages, et cetera, and the rapidly climbing value of homes, which should be interesting to see. See how long it's going to last. Yeah. Number 6.
I make a motion we declare PID number 30223978 Town of Digby property as surplus.
Second to that.
Second.
Any discussion? Need a reminder as to what that is?
That's the little tiny triangle land behind some.
Yes.
Out here at the racket.
Corner racket.
It's not big enough to build on. It's not big enough. It's barely big enough to put a shed on.
And the other abutting neighbor was like government or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, okay. No, that's good. We had a second?
Yes.
I didn't hear. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? None.
Yep. Excuse me. Can I just add to this? We're in the process of having it migrated. It's a requirement in order to sell it. And the researchers have been very interesting trying to, because there is no deed to that property. There never was a deed to the property. It goes back to the old town ranch plot plan and lot number. And so anyway, they've been having quite a time. They said it's not impossible, but, until they found what actually lot number and what lot that was supposed to have been back in 1790 something, we are underway. So the reason that I bring that up is because this is not the only piece of property that the town has ownership of, that there is no deed description of, because leftover property from what was granted to the town, and and some of them are parts of Digby Commons that are no longer, and so.
Yeah, we talked about that before. Every time once in a while, you'll find we had that problem down on the racket there with the, on Birch Street there, where they're putting the yachts, where they store the yachts there.
Oh, then.
Yeah, and we had that problem there.
Through your identifying their potential land for development stuff, will you find some of that through that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have found, and there's one lot that was identified. The reason that we, I guess, for all intents and purposes, forgot that it was there is because of the assessment mapping. There was mistakes in the mapping, and the map didn't correspond with the descriptions of the properties. So, as migration takes place, then they find these mistakes. So we have a landlocked piece of property in behind Tom Callens.
Yep.
A nice square piece of property. It's a good piece of property, but we have absolutely no access to it. And that was a leftover of part of the Digby Commons area. And so if somebody had road access, a lot that had road access, it would be a great lot for development, because you could put 2 to 3 homes in there.
There was
Or a good sized apartment building.
There was discussion with the sale of that house, whether they would use that for access. Yeah. Maybe someday we should approach one of the neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be, basically, we would need to do the same thing, declaring the surplus. We would need to, and probably get it migrated, so we know what description it is, and that, and if it, and if one of the abutting neighbors would like to purchase it, it's a lot simpler, right? It's an easier process, because without access, you can't sell it anyway. No, you can't even get market value for it, or you can't sell it.
Is one of the neighbors' property big enough to ask to purchase a right of way?
Those lots on Victoria, fronting on Victoria, are pretty, aren't all that wide.
Yeah,
They're only 50, 60 feet wide. So we gotta have a 66-foot right of way to make, if you were gonna subdivide, because that lot is big enough to subdivide up there, make a couple lots in there. And in order to do that, we'd have to put a street in there, so we need 66 feet, so basically, it's a challenge.
Okay.
It's either that or we divide it up between all of the abutting neighbors and.
Sort of similar to what happened behind me.
Yeah.
All the neighbors got together and bought a strip of land behind where I am behind this road. Had no value to trees. Got the rest bought. Okay. Moving on. Digby Area Tourism Association. Lots of work there.
The reports,
Yep.
the package.
Uh, I was approached by a member just asking where the room levy was. You heard tonight that it's hit second reading, so you can let them know.
Yes.
Yeah, where it's
Yeah.
going. I did see they're gonna use their booklets they had designed, just change the date on the booklets.
We have the sticker to go on the booklets, yes. There were 6,000 booklets left, I think.
Yeah. Any questions for council attorney?
What's the progress with that Digby Lakes program, Peter? That sounds like an interesting project.
It was approved last month, so it's a go.
What, from where to where, basically?
All the Legos in Digby County.
Everything in Digby County?
Yes.
Yes.
Trouble they're having on is the one there, the little one there. That's still.
At the head of the river.
At the head of
Yeah,
the
there were
river.
some challenges there.
Yeah, that's the.
Oh, the one that's after it's Swiscom?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not included in it because of the problems they're having with it.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it's something, I go in there occasionally, something needs to happen there sooner than later. The latest, well, it's gonna be a rough shape as this one is, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know they're negotiating with various groups they have to negotiate.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, waste check.
We had our
Yep.
reheat and package there with you. I personally voiced some concerns with the new waste cans that are going out now, the sort of light lime green colored ones.
Yeah, I just got one, I replaced mine.
Yeah, mine too. And I said, the wheels are a problem because they're a 2-inch shank.
Yeah.
And if you look at boards, they have a bunch of them. There's not one with the wheels set on them. They're terrible.
Oh, right.
But he did say there's another set of carts coming again in the recent allocation that are a little different again. But they do like these lime green ones because they have a rounded bottom and they're really rat proof. They haven't had a rat chew through the bottom. So that's the best selling feature of those ones.
Well, that's exactly why I had to get a new one, because that's what happened to mine.
Yeah.
That rat chewed the bottom of it.
I also followed up on March the 8th and listened in on the annual general meeting for the Garden Society, and they had a waste check speaker all about waste and recycling and compost. And I posed the question to her when they sell that compost, if we could have a location in Digby County this year. She promised to take it back to their board and ask if we could do that maybe at the municipality's parking lot one day or something. So we'll see what comes from that.
They provided me with, it was a beet sweep this last Saturday, so Waste Check provided me with some bags and gloves, things from beet sweep. So you sign up on what's called Nova Scotia, I think it's called Nova Scotia Beet Sweep website anyway. Waste Check refers them to, and then they record what they picked up and stuff. So they did to the racket along the beach there. Yeah. So thank you to Waste Check for those. Okay. Special committee. Didn't we already talk about this one? So what I said there is one of the things I had said I'd find out is whether or not the festivals be able to go ahead, and we put the question to them, and they said they would come back with answers to all the questions that we had for Dr. Strang, and have not heard back yet. So that's why I listen every day or every other day when he has his meeting as to what's happening.
Basically, like last year, there was conditions that the festivals had to go ahead. And, so the 3 major festivals, none of them, got any money last year. Wharf Rat Rally did come and ask for the money, to do something a little bit different. Council and the wisdom said no, but they weren't going to issue the money. And so basically, you know, in our policy, it states that there are certain terms and conditions with any grant. And so we can definitely make, you know, that basically the event, especially grants for events, the event actually has to happen or in the process of happening before we get the money. Right?
The other thing is, we always try to improve this early, one, so staff knows when they start preparing the budget. The other thing is, some of these group here, it allows them to now go and leverage money. They see that they're getting $500, they can go and leverage money from other groups. But the CEO said, with the festivals, unless council changes their mind, there's no festival, no go, so no money. Yeah. But we always seek approval so staff can have those prepared in case things happen. But ultimately, it falls into the envelope of the big budget. If there's issues there, then things can change again, so.
Yeah. So basically, the motion would be that council approve the following grants pending final budget approval, right? Because even in our policy, it says that, you know, council has the authority to approve the budget, and it's all based on approved budget. So at least we can send notification out that, you know, the grant has been approved pending budget approval.
Yes.
Right? At least they know that the money they can earmark, they should be able to get some money. There should be money forthcoming.
Unless things go sour for us in a hurry or something. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Someone want to put a motion forward, something like that effect, or you just heard it, so.
I'll make that a motion that, the council approve the following grants to the organization for the 21-22 fiscal year based on final budget.
Subject to final budget.
In the amount of $29,325.
Anybody want to second that, or be a real rush on it? But this, yeah, anyway. No seconder?
I'll say.
Yeah. Any discussion on it? If there was hesitation, there must be thoughts or something, so.
I was just playing chicken with those guys to see what's.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Spend too much time on it.
Yeah, we'll spend more time on it again, so.
Yeah.
All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No, motion carries. Moving on. Correspondence. Letter from the municipality of Barrington. Basically, saying what we just kind of discussed earlier is, no consultation.
Yeah.
With the units.
It's clear though, they're
No, yeah.
looking for anybody else to jump on the bandwagon or anything.
No, they just, that's, I think this letter is what triggered the calls that I got from some other councilors in Yarmouth. And then they explained to me that we felt that we wanted to support an organization, a Conway workshop, by giving a grant, allowing them to build ramps, is how it was put to me, is what it was. They said, they felt, and didn't want it to be, that a business downtown came to us and said, could you help me out? Because we're not in that business. Not in that business. No, they're not asking for any more, just they wanted to,
Just voicing their display.
Apparently, they had a special, Barrington had a special council meeting just to deal with this one issue, to write this letter, so. For them, it was
I can see
high
that. They have a good point.
importance.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, they, basically, the thing is that, you know, they didn't quite understand the rationale of where the request came from, or the ability, and it wasn't, so basically, at one point, people were shaming, this is through the CAO listserv, which is an email server that all CAOs communicate back and forth. And a lot of people were discontented with the legislation and the fact that NSFM seemed to be supportive of it and didn't consult with us, and neither did municipal affairs. And then they were even blaming HRM for even asking for that. And the CAO of HRM, he responded, he said, listen, he said, you know, we asked for us. We weren't asking on behalf of the other municipal units. We have our own charter, and that's what we asked for amendments to. And so basically, you know, municipal affairs and their wisdom said, well, you gotta treat everybody alike. You can't give something to somebody and not give it to the rest. But they didn't really ask questions.
Well, they've done it before, they've
Sounds like
allowed Algas to do what they want to do with the rest of the other projects.
how it works with the room levy we're fighting for right now. Is that other people, you know, wanted one and we didn't all get told we had to take one, or that we had the authority to do it. We all have to go separately and ask, so.
Yes.
It's just the government, they can pick whatever issue they want and say, this one applies to all of you and this one applies to just you.
Yeah.
But the bigger issue is it's going to be this. It's been this way forever. It will be. They say we're partners until it comes to make this kind of decision, and we're told this is what's coming down the pipe. So, and it's always frustrating. Although our new municipal minister of affairs was in the meeting with us, and he did mention again that he wants to have monthly meetings and understand the issues and be in contact with us. The other comment he did say, and I didn't respond to it, he says, I hope every municipal unit is doing their strategic plan now. He did mention that in the conversation. So I didn't stand up and say we are, but he did put a note out there to all the units. So I hope you're doing strategic planning sessions here now, moving forward, as a result of COVID and other issues. So. Okay. Nothing there for us. Western County Library, this is what I received. I'm a member of the library board now. I took over from former Councillor Britton. But this funding formula was even beyond my time. They adopted a new funding formula. So here they are looking for some more money. Todd, I don't know if you've been in the email chain. Probably half or more of the units have approved the increase in funding. Have you seen those?
Okay. I've been part of
discussion.
Discussing the CAOs, and most of them are opposed to.
Yeah, well, I'll forward you the ones I've got in the last 2 or 3 days.
So basically what this, on Thursday at 4:16, so that's why it wasn't added to the package. Received an email from Janice Wentzel, who is our executive director of the AMA, Association of Municipal Administrators. It says, dear CAOs, there's been some questions lately around library funding for the 21-22 year. We can confirm that municipal contributions are not increasing for the 21-22 year as previously stated in the February 25th, 2020 letter. The notification outlining the specific funding amounts to municipalities for the 22-23 will be communicated in the 12-month notice letter this year and will factor in the full operating contributions being made to library boards by municipalities. There will be more information coming on this next week. So basically, it is not mandatory. So if we're going to increase funding, it's totally.
What's the current funding level that we contribute?
12,000.
Yeah, 12,007, 12,700 or something like that. So
what I'll do is I will send you the emails I've got from various councils.
Yeah.
And then if this is really unclear, then probably it's best that we table this until we get, there's a library board meeting. I'll find it in the next library board meeting and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Because I did get some emails from some elected officials saying it was gonna be approved, so obviously there's some aren't, so.
Yeah.
And they're required to do a 12-month
Yeah, because it's
change in
under the, intermunicipal, not intermunicipal, but the memorandum of understanding between the province of Nova Scotia and the NSFM. They are supposed to give 12 months notice of anything that is going to cost municipalities more money. So basically, I think it was, I guess, in the queue, ready to go for this year. But with COVID, I think it got missed, and so we didn't get the notice. So therefore, they can't force it upon us. So basically, any increase over last funding would be completely optional on the town's behalf, or any of the municipal units.
libraries will still play a very important role if you go to the library here, but, I'll find out when the next library board meeting was. This hasn't been discussed at the library board meeting that I've been at, because this is prior to, that I got there. We've only had 2 in the last 7 or 8 months, so we'll get more information and get it to everybody and find out what's going on. Because I do have some saying approved, you're hearing some that.
I mean,
Yeah.
basically, what Steve's referring to is that there's been discussion amongst the CAOs, and the discussion that I had was within our region, Shelburne, Yarmouth, and Digby counties, and everybody is basically saying that we weren't given proper notice and things like that. So, I mean, ours is basically, I think ours is 30%. It's a 30% increase in funding for us. Everybody's a little bit different. Barrington's was 20%. They said theirs was up 20%. It seems like the towns got hit the hardest, of course, and the rurals less so.
That they realize it's the rurals with the money, not the towns. Okay, so we'll gather up more stuff and I'll ask the chair of the board.
Should have more clear information.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll go to the chair and you can discuss it with. Yeah. Okay, so we won't spend that tonight. A letter from Terry Gilbert regarding murals. Tom, this is way before, well, Mike might have been around then. I don't know. Did we contribute to that?
No.
No.
No, I don't know. She had sent me some messages on this, and I think she was hoping that I was just gonna authorize Public Works crew to go paint the building so she could put a mural on it. And I said, no, I said, I'm sorry. I said, we don't do that unless it's our own project. If it's a council initiative, I mean, if we were gonna put a mural on somebody's building with their permission, that was gonna be done by the town, that would be different. I said, so I said, if you want town's cooperation or any participation, it's gotta come to council. So that's basically what we have here, so.
Well, we can answer it. First of all, you get Shoreline Restaurant, the conversation would have to be there, and no, we haven't done it. So she's asking if we contribute, we can say no to that. I'd like to see murals all over town, but it's a whole.
It's a process.
It's a process, yeah.
2017, put out your tender for our working time?
Yeah, 2017, which I guess is getting close now. Yeah, but I guess you can answer it, Tom, and then we just go from there. You know, she comes back with where Shoreline's interested, but there isn't even a conversation here whether Shoreline is interested or not. So, yeah,
Yeah, I think that, you know,
yeah. So,
I know that her health is deteriorating.
yeah,
Well,
no, she's
but,
see.
so anyway, I asked her to put something together, and they said she sent that to Leslie, and Leslie forwarded it to me. She said, "What do I do with this?" And I said, "Oh, there's some money to get."
Yeah, well, we can answer her and clarify the things that she has at the point.
Might we say thank you?
Yeah, yeah. She's done some good work.
Yeah, she's talented.
She's talented. The Dr. Lemec's building, our
VIC
VIC.
was a great example of the work that she did. I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
Good work.
the
I
eye doctor down there.
check with the Lebec building, we may have made some sort of a contribution to that. You know, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, you can check it.
I'll have to look now that I think about it, whether it was some paint that we helped buy, or just give her a grand or something to help with it, but, so, I'll do.
And, you know, the Largy sign, I mean, those are, you know, they're great examples of stuff that, should be more done.
Should be, yes. Okay, we'll answer her. Moving on to new business, Relay for Life is looking for permission to use the promenade. Is that something that, from the boardwalk, Tom, that you can just do, or?
Well, I guess basically, I guess the reason that I asked her to present, she came and met with me and discussed it. I think that it's a great initiative in trying to keep Relay for Life alive during COVID. She seemed to think that, you know, it really got lost last year. And even though they tried to do it virtually, there was little or no participation. She wanted to do something a little bit different. And the only thing that I said it needs to come to council to see whether the council approves of that space being used for that purpose, and whether or not it would require an event permit.
I think we should.
Yeah. In the past, we waived the event permit, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we always, we, some instances, we waive the fee.
Yeah. And that was our contribution to the event.
I like it.
Do we need a motion for that?
Do we need to, what's the implications with one-way traffic though?
It's
Yeah.
on the boardwalk.
Yeah.
It's not on the street.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, she mentioned down there, as we'll be able to offer one-way traffic flow, but that's not just closing the street for one way though, that's
No,
the
that-
participants going.
that-
That what she meant?
Yeah,
Because
that's,
that was my
Down on the board,
concern.
the way she explained it to me, she
Yeah.
wanted so that everybody could be flowing one way down on the
Oh,
boardwalk,
yeah.
down
That makes sense.
down the waterfront boardwalk,
Yeah.
right? So that you wouldn't be people coming and
Be
meeting
able to social distance.
and trying to social distance. They can come and they can stop each thing that they had and keep on going without leaving the other, you know, somebody coming the other way and getting the bottleneck.
yeah,
Well,
so,
they did think about the, I forget what they're called, there's two things, one where you actually have a paper balloon into the air, it's environmentally friendly and biodegrades, or the release on the water. They do it in Japan.
yeah, the ones that they released in the air with the candles,
Yes.
there were some, they did that one time downtown, and there were some concerns expressed about, you know, you're putting fire in the air, where's it gonna land, so there was that discussion with them.
Well, the water be, the
Yeah, the ones
rapid
that
would
float,
be,
yeah, maybe.
would be a good choice.
They can launch those from the, well, you wanna make sure they don't end up amongst the boats or anything.
Yeah.
So someone want to put a motion through, give permission to use the town property?
I certainly will.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion on it? Tom can take it from here after that, so.
Second.
Yeah, Mike, Kelsey, yeah. All those in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Any nays? None. Digby Area Senior Safety. You folks, who sits on that here?
I do.
You do, yeah, yeah. Any comments on it? That's their budget for the year?
I think I'm just really devil's advocate.
Yeah.
What do you think about going back to the 16,000 just because they've had a year of COVID where Dawn really hasn't been able to do any of the things that she usually does? It's been hard for her to get together with people face to face. Or is the other side of that coin 17.5 because she's got to ramp up again this year?
Yeah, I know, I don't know what she does. Fleet does on a daily basis, but I know I've had lots of conversations with her over the last year about COVID and the activity wrapped around COVID.
She's busy at home.
Yeah, mental health stuff, yeah.
Doing stuff, mental health, yeah. She hasn't been in the office, but she still does her day-to-day stuff, pretty much. With the new COVID funding as well, we've been organizing stuff for delivering food and packages and things like that, so.
Yeah, I was involved.
A lot of her work anyway. I mean, some she does go to homes, but it's easier for her to do her job like on the phone, to be quite honest. Less risk to her and everything else, so.
She has had occasion to have to go out to emergency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when we talk about affordable housing and mental health issues, it's quite, actually I talked to Dawn a lot about it. And she said this last year has been really hard on, well, it's been hard on most of us really, but it's really been hard on a lot of those individual seniors and people with mental health issues.
Yeah.
And, I know, I work closely with her on the grocery deliveries, deliver groceries right up till 2 months ago, started last March, and I just ended who we were delivering to 2 months ago. We were going from Digby, well, we're actually doing something in the Plymouth Board area too. Yeah.
She does a fair bit in terms of trying to help prevent fraud, financial fraud with a lot of seniors.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a fair bit of reactive stuff as well, where when things have taken place, if, I know for us, if clients give permission, we can put them in touch with her, but she's helped more than a few individuals, that way, and always, willing to, so.
They're pretty adaptive too. She's got a lot of interviews with an RCMP officer and people in the community just to, keep people informed.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm beginning to think what you said is maybe this is the post-COVID recovery increase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the budget as requested.
Second.
Second, of course, that's obviously going to be subject to the other 2 units doing the same thing, so. But this allows staff to throw the number in the budget.
There hasn't been an increase in 4 years, so.
There's a seconder to that. All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Bear Island Ted Layton Guardianship. This is, I think I discussed one time, Bear Island is under the trustees, is the mayor of the town, and the president of the Board of Trade, and the school board is there, but they've gone to the province because of the way the school board has, the school board's disappeared. It's just, we're the mayor of the town of Digby and the president of the Board of Trade are the trustees. So, oh yeah, we have all that.
No, just for tonight's meeting, was there anything?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
this is just something I added on, and it's something, and I was just gonna get to that. We approached Nova Scotia Nature Trust, or I did, just to see if they were interested, and actually they're very interested, and it's become even more so because bank swallows have been declared endangered, and there's bank swallows out there on Bear Island. And Nova Scotia Nature Trust has started having consultations with First Nations, but That was a year ago, and that's all stalled because of COVID. So there's been no movement on that. Whether we're interested in that time when they come back or not, I don't know. But out of that, the conversation was Nova Scotia Nature Trust, when they get a piece of property, they'll appoint a guardian of the property. It's just an ordinary citizen that will hike the property, note changes, look for anything that's unusual. And Ted Layton, I don't know if the folks know here, Ted Layton, well, I mentioned earlier the Sterling County study. Well, Dr. Layton, his father, he's a doctor. This Ted Layton, he's a biologist, a particular form of biologist. He's the one that kind of kickstarted this 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I'm not sure how long now, but he's been doing studies. Acadia's been out there doing. They've set up bird tracking. He and a biologist from St. Mary's have been out to the island and done tracking of birds. And I can find the reports; they're quite interesting to look at. But he approached me about a month ago and said, "But he'd be interested in being the guardian of the island." He said, "I'm out there all the time anyway. Go out and look for garbage or look for things that you may be interested in hearing about because you folks are trustees." And I said, "Well, I'll write to council." I approached the Board of Trade. The Board of Trade is interested. You just haven't had their, as of last week, they just hadn't had a meeting yet to appoint him as Board of Trade. Doesn't give him any authority to do anything. It just means that when he's out to the island, he might come back and say, there's severe erosion, or there's been a change in the bird population, or people are out there damaging the island, or something like that. So he would just report back to the trustees as to what's going on. And I said, yeah, well, we'll bring it to council and discuss. So, yeah. No pay, no anything, just that he would be.
He's a good kid.
He's a very knowledgeable man. Actually, I met with him here Monday. The stuff that I put on your desk, Leslie, is from him. They have some old town documents. Very interesting man to talk to. He got stuck in Ontario. He was working at the University of Saskatchewan, and he was in Ontario, and he had to stay there. He just got back a little while ago. So
The gentleman that was here a couple of years ago.
yeah, he was here a couple of years ago, and that's part of the kickstart, the whole thing.
Yeah, that's right.
We have signs that haven't got up yet. Signs read Bear Island, a natural nature reserve. Please respect the island. It's not to stop anybody to go out there, because they had a hike up there last week, actually. I noticed on Facebook they were having a hike around the island. So not a lot of people go there, but we just encourage people to stay off the island itself during the month of May, June, because of the nesting. Last year I went around it with the year before with Harold Clapp, took photographs, nesting time, and I don't think you want to be on that island during nesting time, or you want to have a lot of hats. So I said I'd bring it to council. If there wasn't any issues, we could make a motion to appoint him, and that's subject to the Board of Trade doing it. Tom, do you have any thoughts on it?
I guess, as far as having somebody to keep eyes on it.
Yeah, that's what it is, to keep eyes on it, yeah. But I encourage anybody here, look for the right tides. I can tell you when they are to walk out. With the right tide, you get a couple hours. Last time I was out there, we miscalculated the tide, so when we come off the island, we were up to our knees and some up to their waist in water walking off the island. Or you go out. My intent is to go out in May or June with my camera and do bird photography, but I get it dropped off by a boat and picked up. Yeah, it's much easier than worried about getting stuck there for 12 hours.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to put a motion forward, that we appoint Mr. Ted Layton as fiscal.
I'm second.
Second that. Okay. Any discussion on it? Yeah. Okay. All those in favor of that motion? Aye. Say aye. Any nays? None. So then again, it is subject to the Board of Trade doing the same thing. So then there are the other trustees. So J4, Councilor Turnbull.
I have a gentleman who would like to donate to the town of Digby. Following articles for their archives, if they have such a thing. A 1912 town of Digby bylaw.
I get 1911 home.
There are 16 copies of the report of the mayor and statement of accounts for the town of Digby from 1923 to 1941, not inclusive of the 30s of there.
I brought it to the, from the 50s, so we're building that.
And there is a little sheet of paper, the town of Digby intern water rate schedule from 1939. So if the town would like to have them for their archives, willing to donate them to them, but if they do have copies, we'd like to have them back to donate to the museum.
Yeah.
So,
You can go through it. Can we write a letter to this individual, thank you?
it's Bear James.
Barry Jennings, yeah, well, let's see there. Let's write a letter on behalf of council, thank you for the information.
He called, he said, "Do you think the town would be interested?" And I said, "Well, certainly."
Yeah, 'cause a lot of that stuff's probably disappeared over the years.
Yes, so if you have doubles, you'd like to have them back, and you'll donate them to the museum.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Okay, that's the last thing on the agenda. Anybody want to make a motion to go home and eat, or
There's nothing on the table in camera?
nothing in camera? Nope. There was we actually put something there.
Yeah, director.
Write it in, yeah, say personnel or contract negotiations or something like that, so nothing in camera. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, let's go home?
Aye.